3 years. Exactly 3 years. Sergeant Wade Thunder Blackridge had survived on the battlefield, thinking about his daughter Luna. When he returned home, he expected to find her warm, safe, and happy. But the tears of the little girl standing barefoot in a snowstorm, shivering with her tiny feet turning blue on the frozen ground, awakened the paternal instinct within him. What happened after that moment was nothing like anyone expected. Sergeant Wade Blackridge stepped onto American soil for the first time in 3 years. The Afghanistan dust had been washed from his uniform, but the weight of war still pressed heavy on his shoulders. He was a decorated member of the 75th Ranger Regiment, nicknamed Thunder after holding off Taliban forces for 6 hours. His chest bore the Silver Star, Bronze Star, and Purple Heart. But none of those achievements mattered now. The only thing that occupied his mind was 7-year-old Luna with bright hazel eyes who called him Daddy. She had been his anchor during the darkest nights in Kandahar province. When mortar shells exploded, he would pull out her worn photograph, Luna sitting on his shoulders at the local fair, both grinning as if they owned the world. As the bus carried him toward Cedar Falls, Montana, Wade's fingers traced Luna's latest letter. Daddy, I made all A's. Sarah says you'll be proud. I can't wait for you to come home and take me sledding. Love, your Luna bug. 7-year-old Luna Blackridge possessed military family resilience. She had her father's determined jaw and her late mother's compassionate eyes. When her father deployed, Luna had been 4, barely understanding why Daddy wore the green uniform and had to go to Afghanistan. But she adapted, learning to pray for soldiers and recognize military vehicle sounds. Her stepmother Sarah Chen Blackridge had entered their lives 18 months before Wade's deployment, presenting herself as the perfect military wife. Sarah cooked elaborate meals, maintained an immaculate house, and photographed everything, documenting their wonderful family for Wade overseas. But children notice things adults miss. Luna noticed how Sarah's smile never reached her eyes when cameras weren't rolling. She noticed conversations stopping when she entered rooms. Most importantly, Luna noticed that real love felt different than performance. Before deployment, winter had been Luna's favorite season. Wade would wake her on snow days whispering, "Luna bug, look outside." They'd bundle up in layers and turn their backyard into a kingdom. Wade taught Luna military snow fortifications, tactical barriers that could withstand enemy snowball attacks. When Luna got cold, they'd retreat inside for hot chocolate. Wade made it the old-fashioned way, adding vanilla he claimed was classified military enhancement. They'd sit by the fireplace while Wade read adventure stories about brave children. "That's you, Luna bug," he would whisper. "You're the bravest little soldier I know." Deployment orders came on a Tuesday morning. "Afghanistan," Wade said quietly. 15 months minimum. Sarah began making lists while Luna only heard numbers. 450 days, 10,800 hours. Wade explained that brave people sometimes had to help others be safe. "But why does it have to be you, Daddy?" Luna asked. Wade looked into eyes that held his determination but reflected innocence he was about to shatter. "Because I want you to grow up where bad people can't hurt good people." On his final night, Wade gave Luna a wooden cross that had belonged to his Marine father. "This will keep you safe while I'm gone. Every time you hold it, remember that Daddy loves you more than all the stars." Sarah had perfected appearing indispensable. She orchestrated reliability campaigns, color-coded schedules, and demonstrated apparent devotion to Luna. She even suggested creating a daddy wall in Luna's room, displaying Wade's photos and medals. The financial arrangements seemed generous. Wade's military pay would be directly deposited. Sarah received power of attorney, and Wade established life insurance and college funds. In their final conversation, Wade gripped Sarah's hands. "She's the most important thing in my world. I'm trusting you with everything that matters." Sarah's response was picture perfect. "Wade, I promise Luna will be loved and protected as if she were my own daughter. Focus on your mission. We'll be here waiting." Within 3 weeks, Sarah announced that Luna's shoe privileges would be earned rather than assumed. Shoes were expensive items requiring responsible behavior. Luna's shoes moved to Sarah's locked bedroom closet, accessible only when Sarah determined sufficient gratitude. Sarah presented this as natural consequence teaching responsibility. When Luna asked for shoes to play outside, Sarah would review recent behavior like a judge. "Have you completed chores, shown appreciation, Been respectful? Standards shifted constantly. Acceptable behaviors one day became infractions the next. Luna found herself barefoot more often, walking carefully on cold floors. Sarah frequently referenced Wade's absence as Luna's fault. Your father is fighting for his life in Afghanistan, and you're worried about shoes? As winter arrived and Montana temperatures dropped below freezing, Sarah's cruelty found its perfect weapon: the cold. Warm winter clothing became luxury items, requiring exceptional gratitude demonstration. Luna's purple snow boots disappeared into Sarah's locked closet along with thermal underwear and winter accessories. Sarah's biological children, Marcus and Ashley, faced no restrictions. They wore latest winter gear, while Luna stood nearby in thin socks or bare feet, shivering in inadequate clothes. Sarah explained differences as natural consequences for Luna's attitude problems. Physical effects began immediately. Luna's feet turned red, then white, then blue-purple, indicating frostbite. She developed painful swelling from repeated cold exposure. Walking on indoor floors caused shooting pain, but complaining was ungrateful behavior, resulting in additional punishment. Sarah documented none of this in letters to Wade. Instead, she painted pictures of thriving households where Luna learned valuable lessons. Photos sent to Afghanistan were carefully staged, with Luna's feet cropped out or hidden during video calls. Cedar Falls was a small town that prided itself on supporting military families. Mrs. Patricia Henley lived next door and watched Luna through her kitchen window. As a retired teacher, she recognized children in distress. She noticed Luna standing outside inappropriately dressed, hopping foot to foot in snow, never crying or calling for help. At school, teacher Jennifer Martinez documented Luna's concerning changes: withdrawn behavior, frequent nurse visits for foot pain, lingering near heating vents. School nurse Rebecca Thompson observed redness and swelling consistent with cold exposure. At the grocery store, cashier David Kim noticed Luna wearing inadequate clothing and no shoes during winter, while her siblings dressed appropriately. Each community member felt uncertainty that plagues potential interventions. They lacked definitive proof and faced a seemingly respectable military spouse. 3,000 miles away, Wade lived for weekly video calls. Sarah appeared first, perfectly composed, painting pictures of stable homes where Luna adjusted well. But Wade noticed changes in Luna. She seemed smaller, more cautious, less spontaneous. Her usual chatter had been replaced by careful, rehearsed answers. Wade began noticing Luna rarely appeared fully on camera, positioned to keep her feet out of view. Most significantly, she no longer asked when he was coming home. The breaking point came when Wade noticed Luna shivering during a call. When he asked if she was cold, Sarah quickly explained heating issues and ended the call early. That night, Wade lay on his Afghanistan bunk, wrestling with growing certainty that his daughter needed him. Wade requested emergency leave, leveraging his exemplary service record. He presented his request as family emergency and mental health necessity. "Sir, I need to address family issues affecting my operational focus," he explained to Captain Martinez. The compromise was 2-week emergency leave. Wade prepared like a combat operation, researching child protection agencies, documenting financial arrangements, gathering military family support contacts. As his plane descended toward Montana, Wade felt familiar pre-mission intensity. This time, the objective was saving his daughter. The taxi dropped Wade at Maple Street's end, just as the winter sun was setting behind the mountains that surrounded Cedar Falls. The familiar neighborhood looked exactly as he remembered: snow-covered lawns, warm lights glowing in windows, and the peaceful atmosphere of a community where families felt safe and secure. The normalcy of the scene made his fears seem paranoid, and his emergency leave feel like an overreaction. Wade walked slowly toward his house, military duffel bag slung over his shoulder, breathing the clean mountain air that tasted nothing like the dust and diesel fumes of Afghanistan. Part of him hoped that he would find Luna and Sarah preparing dinner together, that his daughter would run to the door in warm slippers and throw her arms around his neck, that all his concerns would dissolve into the relief of a father who had worried unnecessarily. The house looked well maintained from the outside. The walkway had been shoveled, holiday decorations still hung from the porch railings, and warm light spilled from the living room windows. Wade approached quietly. not because he intended to spy on his family, but because he wanted to observe their natural state before his arrival changed the dynamics of whatever household routine they had established. Moving closer to the house, Wade could see into the kitchen through the side window. Sarah stood at the stove, stirring something in a large pot, wearing a comfortable sweater and moving with the relaxed efficiency of someone preparing a routine family meal. The scene looked domestic and normal, exactly what a deployed soldier would hope to find when returning home unexpectedly. Then Wade saw something that stopped him cold. Luna sat at the kitchen table, but she wasn't seated in a chair like a family member preparing for dinner. She was on the floor beside the table, her back against the wall, wearing thin clothes that provided no protection against the cold that Wade could feel even through the window. Most shocking of all, her feet were completely bare, and even from outside he could see they were an alarming shade of blue-purple that indicated severe cold exposure. The contrast with Sarah's children was immediately apparent. Marcus and Ashley sat properly at the table, wearing warm clothes and thick socks, chattering happily about their day while their mother served them steaming bowls of what appeared to be hearty soup. Luna received no food, no acknowledgement, no indication that she was considered part of the family meal. Wade watched in horror as Sarah occasionally glanced at Luna, with an expression of cold indifference that was more chilling than the Montana winter. This wasn't neglect born of oversight or stress. It was deliberate, systematic cruelty designed to break down a 7-year-old child's spirit and sense of self-worth. Wade didn't remember moving from the window to the front door. His body operated on pure parental instinct, the same protective fury that had earned him his battlefield nickname when enemies threatened his soldiers. The front door wasn't locked. Sarah's confidence in her deception had made her careless about security, and Wade entered his own home like a warrior breaching an enemy position. The sound of the door slamming open echoed through the house like a gunshot. Sarah spun around from the stove, her face cycling through surprise, confusion, and fear as she processed the reality of Wade's unexpected presence. Marcus and Ashley looked up from their dinner with wide eyes, forks suspended halfway to their mouths, sensing the sudden shift in atmosphere. But Wade only had eyes for Luna. His daughter sat exactly where he had seen her through the window, barefoot and shivering on the cold kitchen floor. When she looked up and saw her father standing in the doorway, her expression transformed from resignation to wonder to desperate hope in the space of a heartbeat. "Daddy?" Luna whispered, as if she couldn't trust her own eyes. Wade crossed the kitchen in 3 quick strides, dropping to his knees beside his daughter. Up close, the damage was even worse than he had observed from outside. Luna's feet were swollen and discolored, showing clear signs of repeated cold injury. Her clothes were thin and inadequate, her body trembling not just from cold, but from what appeared to be chronic malnutrition. "I'm here, Luna Bug," Wade said softly, his voice steady despite the rage building in his chest. "Daddy's here." He gathered Luna into his arms, feeling how thin she had become, how her small body seemed to have shrunk in on itself. She weighed almost nothing, and when she pressed her face against his shoulder, he could feel the desperation in her grip, the clutching of a child who had given up hope of rescue. Sarah began talking immediately, her voice pitched high with nervous energy. "Wade, what a wonderful surprise. We weren't expecting you until minus Luna was just taking a little time out for not finishing her chores. You know how children need structure and consequences." Wade didn't respond to Sarah's explanations. Instead, he focused entirely on Luna, running his hands gently over her arms and legs, checking for other injuries while keeping his voice calm and reassuring. His combat medic training allowed him to assess her condition quickly: malnourished, showing signs of chronic cold exposure, probably dehydrated, and displaying psychological symptoms consistent with prolonged stress and trauma. "Are you hurt anywhere else, sweetheart?" Wade asked Luna quietly. Luna shook her head, but her eyes darted nervously toward Sarah. Even in her father's arms, she remained afraid of retribution for speaking honestly about her treatment. Wade stood slowly, lifting Luna with him. She wrapped her legs around his waist and her arms around his neck, clinging to him like a child who never intended to let go. For the first time since entering the house, Wade turned his attention to Sarah. Wade's voice, when he finally spoke, carried the quiet authority of a senior non-commissioned officer, who had made life-and-death decisions on battlefields around the world. "Pack your things and get out of my house, now." Over the next hours, as Wade tended to Luna's medical needs and documented evidence, the complete scope of Sarah's systematic cruelty became apparent. Luna's bedroom told its story. Winter clothes locked away, the daddy wall stripped bare, Wade's photos hidden in boxes. Neighbors came forward with months of suppressed observations. Teacher Jennifer Martinez brought documentation of Luna's declining performance. School nurse Rebecca Thompson brought medical records of frequent foot pain visits. Most damaging was testimony from Sarah's own children. Marcus and Ashley revealed how Luna was forced to stand outside in snow while they played indoors, denied food during family meals, threatened with consequences if anyone reported her treatment. Wade photographed Luna's injuries with military thoroughness. Her feet showed multiple frostbite healing stages indicating repeated exposure. Her weight loss was dramatic and dangerous. Luna described being forced outside during blizzards, sleeping on cold floors, eating trash scraps when regular meals were denied. Financial records revealed another betrayal. Wade's combat pay had purchased luxury items for Sarah's children, while Luna's basic needs were systematically denied. At Cedar Falls Community Hospital, Dr. Susan Whitmore examined Luna with professional shock. "Your daughter is suffering from multiple frostbite stages, malnutrition, and chronic cold exposure. This represents months of systematic abuse." Child Protective Services and law enforcement moved quickly. Sarah's acceptance of military benefits while abusing a service member's child elevated the case beyond simple domestic charges. She was arrested attempting to flee Montana with her biological children. Charges were comprehensive: child abuse, child endangerment, theft of military benefits, fraud, and conspiracy. Media attention followed as the story resonated with military and civilian communities. Luna's abuse revelation sent shockwaves through Cedar Falls. Mrs. Patricia Henley organized Luna's Circle, community support ensuring Luna's recovery and that similar abuse would never go unnoticed again. The military community responded comprehensively. Fellow soldiers contributed to funds for Luna's medical treatment and counseling. Local businesses donated clothing, shoes, and comfort items. The school implemented new abuse identification protocols. Social media amplified response as Luna's story spread. The hashtag #ProtectMilitaryChildren began trending, advocating for stronger protections during deployments. Sarah's trial became a landmark case. The prosecution presented devastating evidence: medical documentation, photographs, community testimony. Luna's frostbite injuries were compelling proof of repeated, intentional cold exposure. Wade's testimony was the emotional centerpiece. "I trusted this woman with the most precious thing in my world, while I risked my life serving our country. She betrayed that trust in ways that will affect my daughter forever." Luna's testimony via closed-circuit television provided the most powerful evidence: months of deliberate cruelty no adult could dismiss as discipline. The jury deliberated less than 4 hours before guilty verdicts on all charges. Sarah was sentenced to 15 years in federal prison, with permanent prohibition from contact with minors. Luna's recovery required more than medical treatment for her physical injuries. The psychological trauma of systematic abuse had affected her ability to trust, to feel safe, and to believe that she deserved basic care and protection. Wade approached his daughter's healing with the same dedication and strategic thinking that had made him an effective military leader. But he quickly learned that love and patience were more important than tactics and planning. The physical healing came first and proved most straightforward. Luna's frostbite injuries required months of careful treatment, including physical therapy to restore full circulation and mobility to her feet. She worked with specialists who helped her relearn proper walking patterns and gradually built up her tolerance for normal physical activity. The process was slow and sometimes painful, but Luna approached it with the same quiet determination that had helped her survive Sarah's abuse. The process of weight restoration and nutritional rehabilitation required careful monitoring to avoid complications from refeeding syndrome. Luna had adapted to chronic malnutrition, and her body needed time to readjust to adequate nutrition. Wade learned to prepare simple, healthy meals that Luna could tolerate, while her digestive system recovered from months of deprivation. More challenging was helping Luna rebuild her relationship with basic comfort and security. She initially refused to wear shoes or warm clothing, having been conditioned to view these items as privileges that could be withdrawn at any time. Wade had to patiently demonstrate that shoes, warm clothes, and adequate food were her rights as his daughter, not rewards to be earned through perfect behavior. Sleep presented particular difficulties. Luna had learned to sleep lightly and wake frequently, alert for threats or sudden changes in her environment. Wade installed a small bed in his own room, so Luna could feel safe knowing he was nearby, and he maintained consistent bedtime routines that gradually helped her relax and trust that she would wake up safe and cared for. The psychological counseling process required finding specialists who understood both military family dynamics and systematic child abuse. Dr. Amanda Foster, a child psychologist who worked extensively with military families, became Luna's primary therapist and helped Wade understand how to support his daughter's emotional recovery. Luna has learned survival strategies that served her well during the abuse, Dr. Foster explained to Wade. Now we need to help her learn that she's safe to be a normal child again. That process takes time, patience, and consistent demonstration that love isn't conditional on perfect behavior. Wade's own adjustment to civilian family life after combat deployment added complexity to their recovery process. He struggled with guilt about Luna's abuse, anger at the community that had failed to protect her, and his own combat-related stress symptoms that required professional attention. Father and daughter attended some counseling sessions together, learning to communicate openly and rebuild their relationship on a foundation of honesty and unconditional love. 1 year after Wade's emergency return from Afghanistan, Luna celebrated her 8th birthday with a party that would have been impossible to imagine during the darkest days of her abuse. The celebration took place in their new home, a modest house on the other side of Cedar Falls, where they could build fresh memories without the trauma associations of their previous residence. Luna had grown 3 inches and gained 15 pounds, bringing her back to a healthy weight for her age. More importantly, she had regained the sparkle in her eyes and the easy laughter that had characterized her personality before Sarah's abuse. She still faced challenges. Nightmares occasionally disrupted her sleep, and certain situations could trigger anxiety responses. But she was recognizably the joyful, curious child Wade remembered from before his deployment. The birthday party included friends from school, neighbors who had supported their recovery, and military families who understood the unique challenges of reunion after deployment. Luna wore a new purple dress that she had chosen herself, and purple shoes that matched perfectly, the same color combination she had loved before learning to fear the cold. The sight of her dancing in those purple shoes without any fear or hesitation brought tears to Wade's eyes. Wade had accepted an assignment to the local Army Reserve unit that allowed him to continue his military service while remaining home with Luna. The position required occasional travel, but Luna accompanied him when possible, and she never doubted that he would return when he promised. They had rebuilt their relationship on a foundation of complete honesty and open communication that made such separations manageable. Luna's academic performance had recovered dramatically once she felt safe and supported. She excelled in reading and writing, often creating stories about brave children who overcame difficult circumstances. Her teachers noted her particular empathy for classmates who faced challenges, and she often sought opportunities to help others feel included and valued. The legal proceedings had concluded with Sarah serving her sentence in federal prison, but Wade focused more on Luna's future than on dwelling on past injustices. They participated in victim advocacy programs that helped other military families recognize and prevent similar abuse, turning their painful experience into a resource for protecting other children. Wade kept Luna's daddy wall in their new home, but it had evolved beyond military awards and deployment photos. It now included Luna's artwork, academic achievements, pictures from family activities, and certificates from her participation in community service projects. The wall represented not just Wade's military service, but their shared journey from trauma to healing. Most significantly, Luna had learned to trust again, to believe that she deserved love, protection, and basic care, without having to earn these things through perfect behavior. She could ask for what she needed, express her feelings honestly, and believe that her father would prioritize her well-being above all other considerations. As Luna blew out the candles on her birthday cake, surrounded by people who genuinely cared about her welfare, Wade reflected on the long journey that had brought them to this moment. The path from discovery to recovery had required more courage than any military mission he had ever undertaken, but it had led to something more valuable than any medal or commendation: his daughter's restored faith in love, safety, and family. The final photograph from that birthday party showed Luna and Wade laughing together as purple frosting decorated both their faces. It captured a moment of pure joy that would have seemed impossible during the darkest days of her abuse, but it also represented something more profound: the proof that love, patience, and community support could heal even the deepest wounds and restore hope to the most broken hearts. In her bedtime prayers that night, Luna thanked God for her daddy, her new friends, her warm house, and her purple shoes. But mostly, she thanked God for helping her remember that she was worth protecting, worth loving, and worth saving. Lessons that no amount of abuse could permanently destroy in a heart that was brave enough to heal.